This video is sponsored by Nebula. Friedrich Merz, now in office since the 9th of May, a dream come true for the man who was snubbed for the top job by Angela Merkel more than 2 decades ago. But Germany isn't quite sure whether they like him yet. His approval ratings have been a bit of a roller coaster, starting very low at 38%, climbing to 43%, and now wobbling back down to 35%. So, what is actually going on? Well, in true EU Made Simple style, we're going to look at the major Merz moments, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And yes, at the very end, we will give you our very own EU Made Simple score out of 10. Let's go. Merz's chancellorship started off with a bang, but sadly, not a good one. You see, his party, the center-right CDU-CSU, did win the election, but it wasn't the glorious victory lap they hoped for. They underperformed the polls, which had the CDU cruising above 30%, and ended up just scraping enough to form a coalition. And that left Merz with pretty much only one option, a coalition with the center-left SPD. And right out of the gate, Merz pulled a political backflip. He broke one of his biggest campaign promises, maintaining the debt brake. Now, if you're new to German politics, conservatives there hate debt. Like, really hate it. And Merz promised, loudly and often, that Germany would take on no new debt. And fast forward 1 week after winning, boom! Together with the SPD, Merz pushed through a debt reform package in the old parliament. What does that mean? 500 billion euros for infrastructure, and the ability to borrow for any defense spending that goes over 1% of GDP. So yeah, breaking a key fiscal promise literally days after the election? Pretty ugly. But there is a bit of sun behind the clouds. Germany desperately needs investment in roads, rails, broadband, barracks, you name it. And let's be honest, the military has been in shambles for years. So pulling off this kind of massive reform, that's also kind of a win. We've also got to give Merz a win here. The speed of forming a coalition with the SPD. Just 2.5 months. That's pretty fast by German standards, and it was crucial given the state of the world right now. Merz did have to make some big concessions, like easing up on tax cuts, but the SPD also gave ground. So for a CDU-SPD mashup, it came together surprisingly smoothly. Then came May the 6th, the big day. Merz would become the Chancellor. Just one final tiny hurdle, a simple vote in the German parliament to confirm him. No big deal. The CDU, CSU, and the SPD have a majority, right? Right? Well, not quite. Merz didn't win a majority. Enough MEPs from his own coalition quietly defected, and the vote flopped. This has literally never happened in German history. It was a super ugly moment, totally undercutting the strength and image of the new chancellor on day one. So, whoever voted against him in the coalition, not cool. Luckily, a second vote was held later on the same day, and this time it did go through. But the initial failure definitely belongs in the ugly column. But in the weeks that followed, Merz's honeymoon period was in full glow. He launched a jet-setting charm offensive, and compared to his super uncharismatic predecessor, Olaf Scholz, the contrast could not have been more dramatic. The message, Germany is back, and across Europe it resonated hard. His first stop was France, where relations had hit a worrying low under Scholz. Then he made a beeline for Poland and tried to bring the UK closer to mainland Europe again. He even joined the famous bromance train trip to Ukraine with other EU leaders to show solidarity with Zelensky. Russia did not love that and responded with a ridiculously obvious disinformation campaign trying to discredit the leaders. And then came the first big test, Trump. And surprisingly, the meeting went very well. Trump even complimented him, saying he's a very good man to deal with. He is difficult, but is a very great representative of Germany. He also praised Merz's English multiple times. And back home, the performance played really well. Even critics admitted Merz looked like a leader on the world stage. But as for any diplomatic breakthroughs, not so many. Yet. Germany did announce more military cooperation with Ukraine and pledged to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, with 3.5% for the military and 1.5% for infrastructure. That's huge for Germany. But other than that, not much else to show so far. Still, Merz has only been in power for just over 2 months, so this is fair enough. Now, internally, in Germany, Merz seems to be liked less than abroad. A bunch of recent issues have piled up, and it's really hurt his reputation. First up, another broken campaign promise, this time on electricity tax relief. Merz promised everyone in Germany would benefit, but in the end, only big businesses got the relief, and households, nada. And then, most recently, we got a full-blown political soap opera, a highly emotional clash between the CDU-CSU and the SPD over the appointment of a judge to Germany's top court. What happened? Basically, a judge with left-leaning views was supposed to be voted in last Friday. But on the morning of the vote, the CDU-CSU suddenly got cold feet and asked the SPD to pull the candidate. Yes, the morning of. That's like cancelling your wedding while walking down the aisle. CDU-CSU MPs voiced concerns. Everything from a very questionable plagiarism accusation from 1997 to a heated debate over abortion. And all of this after months of telling the SPD that none of this would be a problem. Not good. It's unlikely much of this mess is Merz's personal fault, but it definitely hurts his image and shows some real cracks in the coalition. So yeah, this goes straight into the bad column. Now, to be fair, we've got to give Merz some credit on one of his biggest campaign promises too. Reducing migration. And the numbers, they really speak for themselves. In the first half of 2025, 61,000 people applied for asylum in Germany for the first time. That's a 44.9% drop compared to the same period in 2024, where there were 132,000 applications. That's a significant decline, and Merz will obviously want to take full credit. His government has introduced national border checks, and the recently agreed pause on family reunification for 2 years was a major policy move. But there are other factors too. The situation in Syria has calmed, and stricter Balkan border controls have lowered numbers before people even reach Germany. So yeah, it's not all Merz, but nonetheless, he is delivering on a campaign promise, so that's definitely a point in the good column. Here's what I think. Solid performance, 7 out of 10. On foreign policy, Merz has done great. While there's no major diplomatic breakthrough yet, those take time. And the way he's building relationships, that's how you set the stage for real results. Let's just compare it to his predecessor. Scholz and Macron, no chemistry, no cooperation. Scholz and Zelensky, always too little, too late. Scholz and Trump, that would have been a disaster. Europe needs German leadership, and Merz has already been way more active and visible than Scholz ever was. And let's not forget, Scholz coined the term Zeitenwende, but never delivered it. Merz, with his shiny war chest of borrowed money, clear support for Ukraine, and a 5% NATO spending target, might actually get it done. But there's still Luft nach oben, especially at home. He needs to get his coalition under control, stop the internal drama, and keep his MPs in line. No more defections, and the same goes for the CSU in Bavaria, who love doing their own thing. And if he can manage that, those approval ratings will start climbing again. If you want to understand Europe better, you're in the right place. We break down the most important EU stories, clear, critically, and simple, but often interrupted by ads. No ads, no algorithm deciding what you should watch.
Wow! 1, 2, 3, 4.
You can watch EU Made Simple completely ad-free on Nebula, our sponsor for today's video. Nebula really is an awesome streaming platform, made by content creators. Some even have their own original series. My personal hot list. First, Real Life Lore and his series War Room. A monthly update on global conflicts that often don't make the headlines, like the one in Sudan. Second, went over the logistics of X, showing, for example, how the US military, as massive as it is, moves an entire army across the globe. It really is insane and an eye-opener. Or Arctic to Africa. 2 guys traveling all the way from Northern Europe to Africa by train.
This is our train.
Not exactly a smooth ride, and definitely no comment on the German train system here.
Oh.
And last but not least, what about our channel, EU Made Simple? On Nebula, you'll get all our videos completely ad and sponsor free, and sometimes even early access to new releases or insights into EUMS behind the scenes. Now, if you like our videos, you'll love Nebula, and with our link you get 40% off. That's literally just $36 for an entire year, or $3 a month. So go to go.nebula.tv/EUMadeSimple to sign up. Alright, let's get back to the video. And thank you to our presidents, Jan Schauke Christian Peter HVD, Daniel Unite Europe, Stefan Rashid, and Mr. Probot. See you in the next video.